the News Channel 5 network, this is Morning Line with Nick Beres.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us on Morning Line. Nick Beres here on a Wednesday. Listen, don't even head out this morning. It's pouring rain. Let's get it out of the way so it's clear for the eclipse on Monday. How about that? I've talked to Leland about that. Sit back, enjoy the show, join in the conversation, talk to us. We'll get the phone numbers up there in a moment. What we're going to talk about is one of the leaders of one of the fastest growing police departments in the state at one of the fastest growing cities in Middle Tennessee, a very important part of our community here. Can you guess which it is? No, it's not Clarksville. No, Clarksville's good. Nothing wrong with Clarksville. No, it's not Springfield. No, I'm talking about Murfreesboro. And this morning we'll open up the phone lines. We're going to talk not just about issues there at the city, but some issues with our guest that affect us all that we're seeing happening in a lot of communities throughout Middle Tennessee. So with no further ado, let's introduce to you, first and foremost, the police chief of the great city of Murfreesboro, Karl Durr. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Nick. How you doing?
Good to see you. Good to see you.
What an intro.
Well, come on, I'm glad to have you guys here. It's nice to have you. And I was saying earlier in the tease that it's always nice, when it's raining out, that our guests make it on time. And it's better when it's the chief because, well, you get 5 ways of getting around the traffic.
It's called leaving early.
Yeah, exactly.
And we say what's predictable is preventable.
Yes, that's a good rule to live by. Yeah. With him, of course, is I think he may be on TV sometimes more than I am. That would be next to the chief himself, the face of the department, is Kyle Evans, the public information officer.
I think he's got more followers than you do, Nick.
He probably does. Sergeant Evans has been around a while. So the number is 737-7587. You'll notice, by the way, if you're tuning in, that we've debuted new music on the show, and we've got new fonts with the phone number on there and all that, so you're invited to join if you have questions or comments for them. But I thought I'd just start things off. Murfreesboro is a place I spend a lot of time doing stories in Rutherford County and the like, and just wanted to hit you up. The growth continues there. Some of the current event things that are coming up. Just first and foremost, we've talked to Metro PD about it, and I guess you told me you've been on the phone with them as well. How are you preparing for the eclipse on Monday?
Well, we're bringing in some staffing in early because we haven't had any indications what might be a problem, but we have to be prepared, like the Boy Scouts. Be prepared for, so have the staffing there just in case there are issues. But
what do you think? Is it mostly traffic-related stuff, or what do you worry about?
In having conversations, that's what I think it's going to be, is probably people stopping on the side of the road or something and obstructing traffic. They want to see the eclipse. So I think that's what we're looking at.
Okay, all right. And the public, I guess, has been battered over the head with stories we've done about not pulling over to the side of the road if you're in the middle of something like that, on the interstates or any of the side roads. So that's out there. Hopefully it'll be calm. The other question for you, just in terms of current events, we all saw what happened in Virginia and the issue with the Confederate, statue. They're still debating whether or not to remove that of Robert E. Lee there in Charlottesville. But since then, there have been protests, around Middle Tennessee, and I understood there was one briefly in Murfreesboro on the square there. How do you handle this when you know there's vigils coming on and you have both sides perhaps showing up out there? What is the approach for the PD?
We take the approach that we're there for the safety and to protect the Constitution and people's right to free speech. And on all sides, we're not to have an opinion as law enforcement. We're there for public safety purposes. And so our thing is to, hey, have your speech. It's constitutionally protected, but let's do it safely, and we can do it peacefully. And that's the thing we have to do as Americans, to be able to voice ourselves, but do it peacefully within the laws, and that way there's no problems. Where
do you draw the line? Because that's exactly right, of course. But I mean, where do you know? And I think in Charlottesville, the chief there has defended the way they handled it, and I think under difficult circumstances, he did a pretty good job, the force there. But we saw what happened. If by chance an alt-right group, a white supremacist group, decides to have a rally and goes through the proper channels to do so in Murfreesboro, and that's not happened, but it could happen in any city in the state, and there's going to be a counter-protest that shows up. How do you decide when you think the tensions get so bad and they're getting closer, before violence strikes out, where you decide maybe to intervene? I mean, what signals do you look for there?
And that's
hard.
It's tough. I mean, it's because you're there trying to do the job, keep the peace, ensure the Constitution, but at the same time we have to be there for the safety. So I think knowing that we have good commanders out there and good supervisors, that you get the pulse of what's going on.
Right.
And it's very easy to get the pulse, and then when you see things starting to flare up, it's time to start separating parties and trying to move. And sometimes it's possible to do it, and sometimes it's not. But you know, that's why it's just so important that everybody respect each other and respect each other's opinion and do it peacefully.
Yeah, and I think that's exactly it. Is the idea of having the officers out there getting a feel for it before it happens, and that has to go toward, to some degree, knowing your community. Now, a lot of these folks are outsiders, but community policing, Kyle, the officers that are on the street that know many of the individuals maybe that are involved, that plays a huge part in this, doesn't it?
Well, that's right. Communication, relationships that our officers have with the community, and you have to remember our police officers are members of the Murfreesboro community. They live there, they have families there, they go to church there, they have contacts, and they can go out and get information. It's a two-way street, and so the trouble comes when, like you said, you have outsiders that come in that have an agenda, and they're going to carry out their agenda no matter what the people, the local residents of a particular community want. And so that's what we have to watch out for, is when those outsiders come in, they've got an agenda, and things can escalate quickly, and our officers and supervisors are trained to look for those things and spot those cues, if you will, and when they see those things, we can point them out and adapt our plan to you know, corner that one group of people, and again, keep them separated so you don't have things escalate.
Because I think there's going to be more of that coming up. There just is. It's going to happen. We're going to see more. You know, I was thinking every year we always cover the Night Out Against Crime, National Night Out Against Crime. You guys just had that recently, and you were out there. That's just, again, primarily, as I recall in the times I've been there in the past, a chance just for the officers to get to mingle and spend more time with the public, is it not? That's pretty much what it is.
Well, that's right, and it also sends a message to criminals that we're not going to tolerate criminal activity in our neighborhood. It gives neighbors a chance to get to know each other, and also get to know the police officers that patrol their neighborhoods. It's a great community relations event that we have every single year.
You guys have hot dogs.
We have free hot dogs, but you know what? It's something that we try and do every day of the year. It's just one night of the year we try and really put a special emphasis on it. But getting to know your neighbors and getting to know the officers that patrol your neighborhood is just foundational to our mission at the police department.
Yeah. I've been doing that for years. The other thing I wanted to hit on, I don't know if it's an honor or not when it happens, but you, I guess Murfreesboro hosted the Police Chiefs Association meeting, did it not? I mean, I know the answer to that, because you know what I do? I saw you as I was walking out. You were walking in. I looked for you, and I knew you were busy there. But I like showing up to that thing because you get so much free swag. Okay, you've got the convention center there on the side, and there's a lot of very important seminars and gatherings, but then the side, all the vendors are there with amazing new devices to help with law enforcement and neat stuff walking through there. But I know you were part of that, and your city hosted it. I'm just curious, what kind of came out of that? Will you guys get together for these gatherings? Do you compare notes? What kind of issues were you talking about at this?
You know, it's we compared different things. We discuss things as chiefs, what are current events, and I think that's the biggest thing, is have that dialogue and what are you doing, and create those relationships. But you know, one of the guest speakers that really I think a lot of people really enjoyed is talking about leading from the heart.
Okay, what is it?
Leading from the heart means that you lead your people from your heart and doing the right thing. So it's good to hear those messages and get back down to foundations of leadership and things that we need to do in law enforcement, because you know we have a staff of 300 and something people. We're 265 officers now. So I mean, you know, leadership is important. Yeah. And remembering to lead your people to how to encourage them, then let them know show you care. So no matter if you're a supervisor, Channel 5, or anywhere else, but your people have to know that you care about them.
Oh yeah, leadership, it's at the top. If you don't, and I just think about the police chiefs in Rutherford County as a whole, counting the sheriff as well, you know, the sheriff's department, but you get along pretty well. Chief Arnold in Smyrna, all right, and Chief Walker in Laverne, who's terrific. I think an awful lot of him. And then, you know, the sheriff, the new sheriff, he's working hard while Robert Arnold's at Club Fed.
Mike Fitzhugh, and then you have Peaster from MTSU.
That's right.
Yeah. And we get together once a month and have breakfast together, and we discuss things, and it's all about those relationships to make things happen. And going back to TACP, we're proud of, because it was one of the largest ever.
Yeah, there were a lot of people there.
Yeah, there were a lot of people that attended that. So very successful. But as leadership, it's important to communicate so we share ideas, because nobody needs to reinvent the wheel. So whether we learn from this situation, or what happened in Virginia or what happened in Ferguson, it's important to learn and communicate with each other so that we can take those lessons learned and learn how to do things better. Yeah,
and I can tell you as we go to the break, I've done stories in other communities where sometimes the police chiefs in the county don't all get along, or the sheriff and the police chief don't. And it's the good news in Rutherford County, it's not the case. People get along there. Listen, let's take a break on that note. We've got a couple calls coming in, but the lines are open, 737-7587. Much more. Whenever you have a police chief on, there's all kinds of stuff you can talk to him about. And we'll get into that and more on Morning Line right after this. Stay with us.